Yo, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining. Tuning in to the Flopping Groper show. Hope you had a good weekend and got some creepy Halloween vibes. Just spooky moment in the charts. Bitcoin looking like it wanted to go down lower, but getting this bounce off the Trump VWAP, the VWAP from Trump's election. Very interesting times, but it's good to have you guys in the chats here today. Everybody in the chats. Crypto Eagle, Clate the Great, Piggy Llama, Sala, Crypto Vol, Jason Meyer, Julia, Crypto Cockatoo. All you guys, man, thanks for tuning in. The trading has been going good. So as you guys know from my last stream, even though it got deleted because apparently it was going against some TOS or something, that exploding whale video from the beginning, I guess that was a copyright strike. So I got to be a little careful about my copyright strikes on the channel for the next coming months. But in that video, I let you guys know that I breached my 2 funded accounts. I let you guys know that I was bullish on the impending November VWAP. And we were talking about the rising 5-day moving average. When we zoom in a little bit here, I'm back in action, by the way. I'm back up on this new challenge. 75% win rate. I'm up 7.5% just this week. And I didn't even get a sniper entry. All I was doing was tagging entries on the 5-day MA, which, as you can see here, this gray line on my leapfrog indicator was beginning to slope up as soon as October 22nd here. And so from that point, when that 5-day trend sloped up, you know, I may not be the smartest with market structure, but to me, a rising 5MA signals a potential uptrend. So it was good scalping, kind of YOLO scalping, since it is a challenge and I am capped at the $950 risk or whatever. I was definitely going harder with the size than I usually do, you know, because to me, I'm not really interested in spending a month passing this challenge. And I want you guys to take the same approach. It's one thing to pass a challenge quickly, but once you get that capital, once that capital is real, you got to respect the capital. So there's none of this YOLOing stuff. It's different. Things change once you get funded, especially once you are fully funded. Don't make the mistake I made by continuing to YOLO. So, you know, we're going to breeze through this challenge, but once this account gets funded, my risk is going down because I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I'm going to immediately begin working on challenge number 2. And that's the plan. So hopefully this gets funded pretty quick. And just know that breaching is a part of the game, you know? You guys may need to breach 10, 15, 20 accounts before you really grasp the importance of risk management on these funded platforms. Some other things I got going on. I'm working on my CMT certification. So I've been doing these questions. It's been kind of a grind, and it's actually harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be a breeze. I thought it would be a walk in the park since I've been in the markets for almost 10 years now. But these questions are tricky, man. So I'll be doing a lot of studying in November. And, you know, going into this new week, it is Sunday, man. It is Sunday going into Monday. Technically, it's already Monday. We're in the Monday candle right now. So let's enable these Halloween colored anchored VWAPs. And look, we just got a new week to date right here. So there's a couple levels that I am very mindful of. One is going to be last week's high. Actually, one sec here. Last week's high is actually this right here. Sorry, it was actually earlier today. Technically, we put in that Sunday high there. So look, that's our last week's high. And then the week before that, that's your high. And the next high time frame resistance after that is the monthly / quarterly high up here. So what we are witnessing currently is a this is a high time frame liquidity event. What's about to happen here is a bunch of people who are very bearish and were shorting Bitcoin are about to get stopped out. A bunch of orders are about to trigger here, and typically this can signal a medium term, short term retracement, a healthy retracement. You just got to be mindful that we're in a rising 5-day MA. So, you know, taking this liquidity here, wiping out these people from the last 2 weeks, taking this high here, I believe this is also confluent with the monthly VWAP, aka the quarter 4 VWAP here. So if I enable this Q4 VWAP, look at that, we're right there testing that quarterly VWAP as resistance, this region here. So typically it's not going to be a clean interaction. Usually you come up a little bit, get that bull trap. You bull trap like these people who are FOMOing in at this little top here. But you get a little bit of a retracement back to that previous week to date VWAP here. So a trade I'm considering either late tonight or early tomorrow morning is if we come up and we take this prior weekly high, I'm going to wait for the candles to begin to show weakness. So that may be right as we take that high, or it could be a little bit higher up. Or I could get spooked out of trading from this creepy music. Maybe I just shouldn't trade, man. Maybe it's a sketchy, the witches are out, the black cats are creeping. Maybe it's not a good time to trade. But no, I think it is a good time to trade because right now we are in the Monday candle that is, you know, this new November monthly open is being sandwiched by 2 Mondays. And so whatever the Monday or whatever the November move is, it's going to happen along these 2 weekly opens. So the first weekly open is right now. And then we have the 1st of November right here. And then finally, the first Monday of November will be the 3rd. Right there. So I'm expecting a major move, something major happening around the current weekly open. My first guess is it's going to be a healthy retracement back into that rising 5 MA, simply because we just got this high time frame liquidity event. The taking of these 2 weekly highs, and the only other high time frame level to look out for after that is going to be the all-time high, right? So, you know, if this fails, it's telling me something very important about the charts, and those are the best trades to take, where, you know, it either the trade plays out or your overall presupposition about the market changes, and you come in and you reassess and see what the market's doing. But right now I'm eyeballing a potential short off this liquidity area, but by no means am I really super bearish, given that we're in this 5-day uptrend, given that I'm just very impressed by the strength Bitcoin has shown over the VWAP from Trump's election. I mean, and this is such a strong support to me that even if we had come below, I was telling you guys that there were scenarios in my mind where we could go lower, and I would still believe in a resurgence back over the Trump VWAP. So whether there was volatility beneath and pumpage back over, or whether it looks like we could just be bullishly floating on top of it, which is even more bullish potentially. The fact that our 5-day MA began to slope into an uptrend kind of puts a little bit of a cooler on any ideas of Bitcoin going lower. Another really interesting clue that clued you in to Bitcoin being at a little bit of a bottom back here earlier in the week was if you looked at shitcoins. Shitcoins came and had a major liquidity event to the downside. Look at Fartcoin here. Fartcoin was, and a lot of coins did this very same move, but Fartcoin had this previous weekly VWAP back here. I'll make it this yellow line. And you can see what happened is, this new week opened up. And there was a level that was a very sought after level in the chart. It was this prior weekly low. And so when you get that high time frame liquidity event, when you take that previous week's low, that is often the setup to trade back to the previous week's VWAP. So whatever time frame is being swept, that time frame's VWAP is the VWAP you want to target in this reversal trade here. So personally, I wasn't here at the actual legit bottom. I was a little bit late to seeing that this had happened on shitcoins, but it was a nice indication that, given that Bitcoin was not doing this, we switched to Bitcoin real quick. Bitcoin was taking some liquidity from the previous week, but it was not taking that previous weekly low. But since shitcoins got that indication, it kind of made Bitcoin look extra bullish, right? Because Bitcoin is being floaty. It's not getting those deeper retracements. It's holding this more bullish level as its 5-day MA is beginning to slope up, as a lot of this bearish data from 5 days before had begun to fall off the block here, and it just simply gives the uptrend a chance to take over. But this Fartcoin move needs to be studied because it isn't just random. It isn't like something that's hard to catch. This is our system at play here. When you look at the actual weekly chart on Fart, this is that beautiful, look how this candle is green now, but look at the wick. The wick went deeper than the previous one. And it's like, how do you get into that? I want my position to be that. I want that to be my entry, right? And that comes from when new weeks begin. Draw your levels. This is the giga sauce. This is how I became profitable on Breakout. By being picky for these good entries. You could literally, with horizontals and verticals, you can time the perfect moments of price and time. So a new week begins, you draw your high and low of the previous week, boom, boom. And the first one to get tagged, you take that trade. And you could target all the way to the top of the channel, but like a really nice safe target for you is going to be the VWAP from that prior period. See that? So you could have gotten right here. If you got out right there, you would have saved a lot of pain. You would have not experienced this red wick here. But that red wick was an interesting kind of like a 4-hour type of sweep there. Sweeping this low here. That was a 4-hour liquidity event. I usually don't really chase those types of moves, but that works too. So being mindful of what the previous week was doing is how this is how you catch like the tippy top, like at the top, like when I was in New Jersey back here at the literal top before the big macro crash. I was in this trade. We were in this trade because a new Monday had begun, and back here we have our Monday from the previous week. And when that new week begins, if you had drawn the last week's high, and last week's low, and you just simply said the first time we tag one of these levels, we're going to trade back to this VWAP, last week's VWAP, that would have gotten you into this position here from the tippy top right there. Granted, if you probably would have taken profits before the big dump, but if you had some sort of strategy where you let some of it ride, you would have stayed in that. It was putting you in the right direction. I should have held this trade, because what I wasn't putting enough weight on was the fact that this was a 3-month chart liquidity event. What I was not really anticipating, because I am so good at playing the week to week, getting in, taking my money out, taking the payout. To get the payout on breakout, you have to close all your positions. So I've gotten into that good habit of when we hit that last week's VWAP, like, I'm out, But if I had the balls to hold this longer, like, look what was happening here is going into Q4, you put the Q3 VWAP on, and you put a VWAP on this Q4, that just the October VWAP. So you're in October, you mark your levels. You had the prior quarterly high and the prior quarterly low. And look at that. As soon as that previous period's high gets tagged, where do you go? You trade back to that previous period's VWAP. In this case, we get this macro continuation. We even test the low, the Q3 low. We test the entire Q3 range, which is, that's an impossible move to predict. But being mindful of these high time frame liquidity moments, not ignoring these, because look how freaking common they are. Q1 begins here. January 1. When you target that prior quarterly liquidity, that's when you get that move to the downside, back to the quarter before. We dump down to that VWAP. It happened here too. It happened every single quarter. So it's when I start placing and making millions of dollars in these trades, then you guys will believe me. But for now, you don't believe me. That's okay. The right people are learning and progressing on this just like I am. We're getting better at this. But when a new quarter begins, just play off the last quarter's range. In what direction do you trade in? You target that liquidity and you trade back to the previous quarter's VWAP. So, that same logic that helped me be bearish back here, helped me be bullish here, helped me be bearish here, also helped me not get destroyed on this manipulation here. And that's the logic. That it's the same logic that caused Fartcoin to pump this week. We get a new week, we take last week's low, and we return back. Conservatively, we bet on the retracement back to the previous period's VWAP. But you never know when it could continue to go more. You could argue that once you get to the bottom of a range, you could trade back up to the top of the range potentially. So who knows? Maybe Fartcoin has this pump up to this 49.50 cent level, perhaps, before it experiences a major correction. But honestly, I'm more in tune with what Bitcoin's doing, because what Bitcoin is doing is going to determine everything else. So personally, for me, my eyes are on Bitcoin right now. We got this previous weekly high. We've got the current weekly high, which just got established a few hours ago. And so this range here, once I start seeing 10-minute Heikin-Ashi, which we damn near are pretty much seeing here, I really would love for this to come up one more time and take that last week's high. But honestly, we are already at Q4 VWAP resistance. I'm being a little greedy. I'm gonna keep being greedy. I'm gonna bet on this coming up one more time tonight. and I want to catch a strong 10-minute Heikin-Ashi candle back to the previous week to date, back to that 5-day SMA, I will take the trade. And it's going to look something like this. Something like that. But I'll be taking profits very aggressively. I'll probably scale in and then scale out, start scaling out as soon as I'm scaling in, because this is a strong uptrend. You know, it's man, who knows if the monthly range might get taken. If this region flips into support and we are able to turn the Q4 VWAP bullish again, well, then that flips the quarterly narrative. You know what I'm saying? We got a 5-day uptrend. We're over the Q4 VWAP. It's November. It's a new narrative. How hilarious would that be if this was actually the bottom off this Trump VWAP and we're just at a new all-time high? You know what I'm saying? But right now, one step at a time. I believe that currently with these two weekly candles, we got 2 weekly candles here. That's a lot of high time frame candle resistance. That's a lot of people getting shreked if this level gets burst up out of. So in my opinion, you know, we burst up out of this, but there is a correction this week back into these strong supports, right? Even if we are going bullish here. But I would just take profits. You know, obviously we could turn bearish from here. We could lose all this and the slope of the 5MA could slope back down again, but I usually don't play that game. I come in here, I look for that opportunity off the special event on the Monday, play off the previous weekly levels. I'm willing to eat a loss streak of 3 or 5 to get into a good position here back to last week's VWAP. So, you know, it's not like my size is crazy. It's not like I'm so confident in my trades that I'm betting the farm. It's you got to be chill with it. You got to be not nervous with your trades, man. Scared money don't make no money. But got some OGs in the chat. We got Chris Major saying nothing like some good TA from the flopping Groper. Yes, sir. We got Trader Geo in the house, running his own successful trading business, connecting traders, even beyond his amazing scalp trading and all the work he's done perfecting his craft. He's someone who brings people together, which is even more important. We got my brother Crypto Guy OTI in the house. Good to have you in, bro. Trader Geo says that could be a swing short down to the mid 80s on my dead homies. Never know. Haven't shorted in 2 weeks. Can't wait to start shorting. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. I think that you know, what we're facing here with this bi-weekly resistance is a kind of last chance for the bears. You know, this is basically, you know, once this resistance is broken and retested as support, you know, there's really not much holding the bulls back until the monthly high. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about, but I would say statistically, you know, usually when you pump this hard in a new week, you know, we look at the gap chart, for instance. It's just typical everyday stuff. You put a gap on that CME, or you put a VWAP on that CME gap, you know, you got your prior weekly high over here. I would expect this to, you know, in the next 12 hours, like potentially come up like this, tag these retards up here, bait in some longers, and then kind of just show weakness over this VWAP here, and eventually you kind of slump down and you get that kind of move, but potentially before upside. Something like that, you know? So it's not much, it's not a crazy thing I'm asking for. It's just a typical, like a weekly type of healthy correction kind of move, guys. So I may talk about it in a different way than a lot of other people, but you know, usually these weekend moves don't really sustain, even though they can be a good sign. It's hard to sustain without getting a nice bullish bounce into that rising 5MA. Yeah, man. So I'm working on a new funded challenge that is like using my Bybit account. So I have this demo account with Klein funding, and man, it's a tough challenge, man. They want me to make 24%, which was like $48,000. So man, this is tougher than a breakout challenge, but I've been taking it slow, and I just got to grow this account, this demo account, from like 204. Started with 200K. I'm up 4 grand, which is only 2%, but I need to make another $40,000 and I'll get this account as well. So wish me luck on this shit. I've been taking it slow, but my gosh, man, 24%. That's a tough challenge, man. The breakout account, as I showed you guys earlier in the stream, man, I cranked up. My risk was like full Kelly all week, catching this uptrend, just because it's a challenge. If it was not a challenge, if it was real funded account trading, I would be using 10% of the account. You know what I'm saying? But we're cranking it up. I'm trying to get this challenge done so I can pass my second 100K challenge and get fully funded again. I'm not in a rush to trade this live account unless something super amazing speaks to me. But as soon as I pass this challenge, I am definitely going right into that second 100K, because it's up to me to right my wrongs. So far, doing great on this account. 75% win rate. Really baby losses, huge ass wins, losing trades that this is not even accurate. Like I'm not even bragging about this dashboard, because this is not my usual trading results. My usual trading results are a lot more down to earth. I'm very familiar with my numbers now. And this right here, this is what a profitable account looks like for me. Only a 36% win rate. And yet I'm able to pull out, I pulled out more than this number. I pulled out like $24,000 out of this funded account. But look at the reality of trading, guys. Like, you know, it's not a knock on you or me or whatever that our win rate is low. It's actually good when the truth is revealed about your strategy, and over many, many trades, you see what really can happen, you know? Because this number, this honest number, I could tell you my win rate is 75% and brag to you about my other dashboard, but this is a much more accurate, this is what I should really be working my position size off of, you know? And so by accepting that I am a retard, I am making more money than you in the markets, because I'm trading my size. My size fits my style, you know? Make sure your trade size fits your style. I actually just did 3 calls today with traders, and they all had the same problem, man. They all had the exact same problem, which is their size is not in check. The first 2 traders had low win rates like mine. And it was very important for them in the call I had with them today that they understood that minimizing their losses, minimizing their next loss, is way more important than maximizing their next gain. But then I went on to the call with trader number 3, and technically it was 2 because it was a husband and a wife. So I was on a consultation with this two-headed trader. Basically, it's this dude and his wife in an oversized t-shirt together trading the markets as a team. And they were good, man. They showed me their win rate. They said over like 1,000 trades their win rate was 66%. Can you believe that, guys? So I had to hand it to this guy and his wife. I was like, man, you guys are good at over that many trades, being able to believe in a win rate like that is very powerful. It basically means that you're not You're not going to get ruined by some crazy loss streak of like 20. You know, it's like with a shitty win rate like mine, there's a chance that I could hit a roadblock, and like there's almost like no, there's like my size has to be very small, you know, like 0.1% risk to make this type of win rate work, in my opinion. You know, and that's just the results of trading many funded accounts. But with a 66% win rate, their risk reward wasn't that good, Mickey. Not as good as mine. You know, like their wins were a little bit closer to their losses. So higher win rate. But the reason why my lower win rate works like over many trades is because my wins are bigger than my losses. But anyways, this couple had an amazing win rate, and they were still running into these trades that got them real bad. And I just told them, like, just because you have a high win rate doesn't mean that you can disrespect size. Like, having a win streak doesn't mean anything. Like, man, especially if you're on a self-funded account and you keep compounding, you know, with a high win rate, you could double or triple an account in a week's time, you know? But what do you do with those profits? Do you keep trading it until you finally get unlucky and hit a loss, and then that loss is more money than your original stake that you were trading with to begin with? It can't be like that, man. You have to take those profits. You have to reduce the size. You have to protect the run. And so, you know, it's a little embarrassing to have such a high win rate and then you let one loss take you out, man. You know, it's like, whatever happened to small wins, small losses, big wins? And I told this couple, like, man, the biggest loss you guys should be ever taking on this $15,000 account is, you know, $25. You know what I'm saying? Don't take a loss more than $25, $25, and your win should be over 100. And I just told them, if they stick with that, like, you're not going to have this big dinosaur extinction level event that takes out all your progress. That's the whole point of a high win rate, is to protect you from those big loss streaks. But yeah, man, it was just a lesson in size. You know, trade size. All three traders, high win rate, low win rate. The market doesn't care what your win rate is. Your win rate may be high over many, many trades, but maybe this week your win rate sucks and you don't know it yet. You know, does your money disappear when you hit those roadblocks? So yeah, man. Bitcoin, you know, I was hoping, I had some little trades, 2 little trades here, hoping that this, like, you know, if it gets stopped out short term, that's okay. There's some baby losses here. But I was hoping to get this tag of 116K, hit that prior weekly high. That's the area that I'm looking at. But with that, man, I'll open up the floor to some chart suggestions here. Any questions you guys got about Leapfrog or Bitcoin, cryptos? Went over the strategy. I went over the high time frame sweepage, trading back to that last candle's VWAP. Looking at some other charts here. Ethereum here. Scooping into a 5-day uptrend. Surging over its Q4 VWAP. Looking to take out this prior weekly high. Then you probably got a healthy correction back down into that rising 5MA. So is it a time to FOMO long? Probably not. If you don't want to short any of these cryptos, I would say that waiting a couple days for a healthy plunge into this rising 5MA is probably your best bet. Yes, sir. Trader G wants me to look at Zcash. I'm glad you're still in here, man. Ooh, okay. All right. All right. I love it. I love it. No levels to work off of. Not gonna lie, man. Coming out of a new, you know, we're in uncharted territory here. and there's really only one level to work off of, which is this Sunday high that just got put in, you know? So any weakness under this high, I would get a little concerned for a short-term pullback back into that 5-day SMA, especially if that's what Bitcoin wants to do. But yeah, man, I would say it's playing off of its weekly levels right now. It's in some uncharted territory. I don't even want to touch it because I wouldn't really want to bet against Zcash. I know it's had this kind of stronger narrative going for it. Its Q4 has been legendary. It's just like pumping on this Q4 VWAP, super bullish over it in a rising 5-day uptrend. So you know, Zcash is doing something special here, but you can't deny that it has run up into, it ran up, it created a Sunday high, which basically sets the lines on the basketball court for the players this week. You know, so the new traders, now that it's a new week, I feel like anybody who's shorted here, you know, they're the first easy prey, so obviously they get stopped out. Who knows if this motion right here of stopping out these people, is that enough of a liquidity grab to get that textbook healthy correction? Very well could be. But I won't be touching Zcash because it doesn't have much historical data where we're currently at for me to really work off of. So in my opinion, the time to jump into this was you know, back here when it was plunging into a rising 5MA, you know, reclaiming weekly VWAP. Beautiful market cipher action here. And yeah, so props to anybody who jumped in on that Zcash trend, man. Not really sure what happened. Is like, did something happen with Monero? Threat of 50% attack or something that makes people want to go to Zcash. I'm not sure, man. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. COAI. So COAI, a coin my brother's been into. This is a very volatile, potentially lucrative coin to look at for trades here. So there was some great trades on this last week. I caught bullish weekly leap. Like if you had a VWAP on the start of this week here, what's funny is when you take this high, that ends up being a topping pattern. And then you go back down. But as soon as you hit this lifetime VWAP down here, and you start that new week, there was that kind of freebie long trade back up to the prior weekly VWAP, and this was an insane 140% move just back to the VWAP. That was the freebie, and then this over here, this was crazy, 360% pump off this bullish weekly leap that we had. Crazy. It's being very like random around its 5MA, that 5MA just going up and down. It's all over the place. But so far, this lifetime VWAP looks like some strong support, guys. So you know, we just got another week. And so it is possible that, so what you could do here is you could target last week's low. Here's your last week's low. Here's the last week's high. And so if COA takes last week's low right here, that's a very advantageous trade back up to last week's VWAP, potentially back up, test the declining 5MA again, and potentially just continue this choppy, crazy ranging that it's doing. Not that I would expect it to keep ranging as volatile-ishly, but it is at some strong lifetime support. It just got a new week-to-date VWAP, so while it may be wanting to hunt some liquidity, it does look like it kind of wants to go back up to that last week's VWAP here. Some comments about Zcash, you know, TA not working on Zcash. You know, when TA doesn't work, you work off what you got, you know? And it's kind of like that with all cryptos to some extent. Like, you You know, even Bitcoin, for instance, you know, we're dealing with weekly levels here, but if these aren't reliable, then what do you got? You got the monthly high. So it's just crazy, man. Like the quarterly range right off the bat was established as an insane range. So not the market to be on the wrong side of the market and let a trade run against you, right? Because you know, whichever side of this range you get stuck on, it could go to the complete opposite side of it and not even change any structure in the chart. This structure of the chart could be what we're dealing with until the new year. You know, who knows, guys, you know? But, you know, you could plan trades already depending on how this range, this quarterly range, this Q4 range evolves. There's trades that you can plan in the around the new year. Like if this is our previous quarter's high, and if this is our previous quarter's low, and we go into the new year like this, boom, new year to date spawns there. You know, there's going to be a short from the high, or there's going to be a long from the low. And where you would trade back to is wherever the Q4 VWAP is. So there would be a long with a target back into that range, or a short with a target back into that range. And the more data we get going into that new quarter, the more sure that that move is going to be. So really pay attention to what this quarterly range is, you know. I think it's possible that man, a lot is possible in 2 months, you know. A lot is possible. But it looks like we're just getting some eagerness to return to the October VWAP before November even begins. So November is about to start here in a couple days. In my opinion, I would like to see a little bit of a healthy pullback here. And if November's bullish, so be it. Let's get that little rally back up to the Q4 VWAP and let's continue up. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see, man. You know, if it is a crazy, if we end up reclaiming this and there's like a half-assed correction, we don't even go back to that previous weekly VWAP, and then we're back over, and you know, like we're coming up and we're taking this high going into the new month, that would be insane. But damn, then you're just monthly SFPing, probably trade back down to the October VWAP, which would be rising at that point, and maybe you get a bounce there, you know. So gosh, man, there's a lot that can happen. I'm not gonna sit here and claim that I know what's gonna happen, but just know that I'm targeting these weekly ranges for short-term short. If that doesn't play out, totally fine by that. Totally ready for this 5-day uptrend to start taking over here, man. Yes, sir. I get that we're in uptrends, guys. I get that it was a hypey, nice weekend for price, but we've got CME gaps. You know, even if you're bullish, there's much safer levels down lower to get a potential long entry at. Ideally, the 5-day MA. Looking at Solana here right now. You know, breaching over the Q4 VWAP, this can be a great sign. You know, oftentimes you do come up, and we could tag this prior weekly high, but from that point, it becomes very likely that we get that healthy correction. Looking at XRP, XRP had some beautiful moves back to its Q4 VWAP before most coins. So this was XRP was a great early indication of what Bitcoin and like other coins did today. XRP was doing the other day early. And so XRP tends to do this. It tends to fill its leaps very quickly and just be very volatile for how established Ripple is. It moves strongly, man. It really goes, like, it really goes to around those VWAPs, man. But look at XRP in a hurry to take prior weekly levels here. So we've swept this prior weekly high, and I would look at XRP as a potential short back down to the 5 MA, back down to that prior weekly VWAP from this level. Because if this prior weekly high doesn't confirm as some strong resistance, well then, you know, what the hell is that means that the monthly high up here must be in play or something, you know? So yeah, man, this is the last line in the sand for these coins, for these bears on these coins to get their last lick. Chicken Salt in the chat says don't trust the Sunday pump. You know, sometimes you can, but I tend to cast doubt. My philosophy with trading is similar to my real life philosophy. I want things to go back to normal. I want things to make sense again. And as long as we get that good, advantageous entry, then that makes taking the risk not so bad, you know? And so taking some liquidity from previous weeks, stopping a bunch of gropers out who shorted back on the 13th, I'd say that's a good enough reason to like want to take a short position. It's just a matter of, with any trade you're taking, making sure the size is appropriate and accepting the outcome either way. But I do intend, once this, you know, we can get some, once this starts playing out, if I get some lagging indications supporting me further that this is going to correct, I'm definitely going to try and finish off that challenge and get going on that next challenge, man. How are we looking on these chart recommendations? That's pretty much it. Yeah, so yeah, this COA coin, guys, it looks like it's pumping. You know, it's this is an unpredictable coin, but you know, targeting this liquidity because it is so volatile and so unforgiving. I'm not touching this unless it comes down and takes that previous weekly low. If that happens, that right there is the most advantageous price for a leveraged trader tackling this coin, because this is a very volatile coin. Let's take a look at Litecoin real quick. So Litecoin got some previous weekly highs coming up on Litecoin as well. So, you know, expect a little bit of these people to get stopped out. Yeah, if you check your heat maps, you'll see people at these highs about to get wrecked. You know? So we just got a new week today. I would be targeting these highs for a potential trade back down into the healthy support back down there. But I wouldn't set a limit order short. I would observe the price coming up over, you know, and if it does something like this, and then you see the exact candle I'm looking for is a 10-minute Heikinashi with no top wick, just something like that, like a hot dog. I'm looking for a corn dog shaped Heikinashi candle, and you just put your stop behind the high, risk enough for 3-5 times getting stopped out like a groper, and in the third or fifth trade will hit and you'll catch a big medium-term correction. You know, look on Litecoin, 1, 2, 3, 4 lower highs that get put in here. As soon as this top high gets taken out, that's a lot of liquidity that got taken. That's a very good potential region to look for that healthy retracement if there's going to be one. Yes, sirree. And that's pretty much my take for the night, guys. So I got a lot of things going on. Like I said, I've been talking to traders. I'm studying for my CMT certification exam. I'm planning a trip to the Bahamas to do interviews about how I was able to start winning on Breakout. And empoweredtraders.com is my website, guys. So if you like this TA, if you like what I'm doing, the algorithm freaking hates me. So I basically depend 100% on you guys sharing me around, liking the stream, you know, dropping a comment, doing whatever, but only if what I'm saying actually helps you. But if you want to join the Discord, make sure you use code PLATINUM, not code FG, 40% off. Even if you get the 3-month plan, I'll give you my indicator for life. Market Cipher code FG is 25%. I gotta fix that. But if you want to get under me on Breakout, here's my code there. And yeah, if any of you guys need any help, I'm doing free consultations. I'm doing it. I'm open to traders currently. Look, free consultation. I want clients. I want sponsorships, and I want I want likes and shares. I want a cleaning lady. I want a girlfriend to cook and clean for me as I scale my trading. I want everything, man. So, yeah, man. I haven't been on Twitter. I'm taking a break from Twitter. My last post was me walking away. I've been yapping too much, especially after preaching all that preach, and then I breached. So I'm sick of I'm sick of talking to people on Twitter. I'm back in the trenches, getting my shit straightened out again, and I hope you guys are doing the same, man. So you guys have a great night. Much love. Smash the likes, and you guys have a good one.